we are back, episode 149 of Journey to Million here on this Wednesday night. Zack Rausch, Jared Valleskey, myself, Drew Skyberg here, ready to talk about the championship game weekend and, of course, preview the beloved Super Bowl. And look, this is the Super Bowl we did not want to happen coming into this postseason. This was probably number one in the matchups I did not want to have happen, and we got it. What a great gift. Because everybody wanted Detroit over Philly. I feel like I just am looking like 1 seed versus 2 seed. But this is disgusting.
Yeah. It's all
That's
rigged,
kind of my take. How you feeling about it, Zach? Because, I mean, Jared and I have been the most vocal on this.
I mean, I don't care. I would have liked the Bills to win, but, I mean, either way, it's two teams that I'm not fans of. Don't have any fantasy, obviously, so it is what it is. Like, I'm watching either way, so.
Yeah. No, I get that. And I know people are upset about, the Chiefs. Like, I'm upset and I always like to make this clear because I've heard a lot of just talk about, like, being people upset the Chiefs made it. And it's like, you can't be upset at them. You know what I mean? But you can definitely be. I just feel like, they keep winning the games. I don't know. I feel
people are upset that, it's kind of what everyone expected. It's like boring, kind of. Yeah. That's what people are upset about.
Like that's where you kind of made a comment, which I can kind of get to a little bit, is just like, why play the games when we know the outcome?
Yeah.
To your point, it's more exciting when teams that the Super Bowl we talked about right away. We were like, hey, look at past few years. It has to be Rams Bengals. Has to be one of the most exciting Super Bowls from. Obviously, last year's game went to overtime, so it'd be crazy for me not to say like last year up there too. But just of what the teams were, and the narratives, right? Matthew Stafford, and Joe Burrow coming up.
Yeah, it's just the last however many years. It's Mahomes, it's Brady, it was Manning, it was it's always the same names, and now it's nice to see a game where it's, like you said, Stafford or Burrow or someone that
refreshing
hasn't been there. That's why Josh Allen, Allen and Daniel, or Allen and what are the Eagles? Just yeah.
Talking about Hurts. I mean, Hurts this is his second Super Bowl already. So
yeah, I think. Well, they lost to the Chiefs in what, 2018, something.
No,
it was 2021. Like, they were there in 2018, and that's the year they won against the Patriots, right? They beat the Patriots.
There's the Nick Foles year in there, but then, the one it was Hurts costly turnover late cost some. More plays in that game, but right away, Chiefs are favored 1.5. That's what I saw. I mean, looking through it, do you guys have any early picks right now? I know we're early into it because we can have stuff from the game.
Like who's gonna win, or like props?
No, who's gonna win?
Well, the Chiefs are gonna win, definitely. I'd put like $100,000 on it. Every year you guys say this. This is 2 years in a row where Zach, specifically you said nope, and you chose the Super Bowl wrong both times. Last 2 years you chose it wrong, and now you're gonna choose wrong again.
Something again, right? Eventually, right?
Yeah.
I'll go Chiefs too. I'll take Jared's side on this one.
Damn, you guys are boring.
Nothing that you want to happen happens. Haven't you learned by now? Like, whatever you want to happen isn't going to happen. So the Eagles, I know we don't want the Eagles to win, but we're all cheering for the meteor, right? That's what we're hoping for. That's what I've seen going around.
I thought in the NFC Championship game, after the first quarter, I know there were some warning signs. I know that first big play for Saquon might have been a pretty good warning sign. I really thought there was a shot that game would be competitive. I really did.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it all fell apart.
Rookie quarterback. I hate to say that, but
I think it was far from his fault solely.
Well, they put on the defense allowed 55. It's not on Daniels.
Well, the offense also screwed the defense over
a couple times. Also, there were some penalties in there. I mean, they talk about. I think that game hurt the Commanders more than and the Bills got hurt, if you will. Obviously, that spot and that one down was crucial. But I'm just saying, in terms of calls, late hit call against Saquon or on Saquon Drew.
I mean, we've seen it like the whole postseason. Yeah. It's pretty much been turnovers are what are screwing teams over. Like most games that we've seen now, you look at it, it's whoever turned the ball over less is won.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the most notable is that Detroit-Washington game because that was the biggest upset this postseason. So in that game specifically, you saw the turnovers, but yeah, list goes on. Herbert, and in that game,
Packers
4 picks. Packers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, list goes on, and the Bills that game was tough. I mean, you really thought. I guess how do you guys feel about that game too? Like the spot, obviously that spot in that 4th and 1 was tough, but it's hard to say. Like, I mean, obviously replay whatnot, but just overall that play call too. I find it interesting because they just do the traditional QB sneak. I think that's always something that we see the tush push, or we see other kinds of plays too. They kept running that on the 4th and 1s and just felt eventually they'd get stopped. And
I have a lot of thoughts that I've said before
the playoffs started. Is like the Bills' defense isn't. I think what I said exactly is I don't trust them to get a stop ever. Like they're going to get some stops, but it's never in the big moments. And that's what happened against the Chiefs. Like it happens the same thing every single year for the Bills. Their defense is fine in the regular season, gets to the playoffs, and usually when they get to the Chiefs, they can't make time to stop.
Well, that's not discredit to the Bills. That's credit to the Chiefs because the Chiefs always come up. I mean, yeah, the Bills couldn't stop them. Sure, that's 3 years in a row now they couldn't stop them, but that's the Chiefs performing 3 years in a row now against the Bills. It mattered.
Chiefs make plays in the big moments, and Bills don't. We've seen Josh Allen the offense do it plenty, so I don't think you can really say.
If the Bills didn't have to play the Chiefs, if the Bills didn't have to play the Chiefs, the Bills would have made the Super Bowl the last 3 years. I'll say that. They would have. It's just the Chiefs. That's all it is. It's a team that you can't beat no matter what.
But
yeah, maybe Bills need a true number 1.
So that's Zach's solution. I guess my whole talk.
That's a solution to every team.
Well, I know it is. I don't disagree. I thought about that more, Zach, right when you said it, because I was like, that's your solution. Like that's stupid. But then I thought about it, and I'm like,
last year's Chiefs team, did they need a true number 1 to win it?
Travis Kelce, he is their number 1. That is a number 1. It's a pass catcher.
Number 1 is a receiver.
No, a number 1 pass catcher. That can be any position. It can be receiver.
What did he do this year? Less than 1,000 yards. That's not a number 1. That's terrible. Oh he had less than 1,000 last year as well. That's not a number 1. He came up in the big moments, but so does Tyreek Hill. He had a terrible year, but he could come up in a big moment. Get your facts
so Jared
right.
looks at I think but I was going with that. I agree. I think the Bills actually, I think Josh Allen in that moment, right? Obviously, okay, that last play, like he just threw it up and somehow miraculously got to Dalton Kincaid. Like that, that's obviously a play like that when you're scrambling under pressure, you want to look for that guy. Obviously, like they had Stephon Diggs, they had a number 1. This is my argument, is they already had a number 1 for years.
Not a Diggs type.
What?
There are different types of number 1s.
Oh, okay.
Diggs is a great number 1.
Which number 1 do we need then? Because they had one. Yeah. They had a number 1.
But when you want a number 1 receiver, you don't want like an Adams and Rodgers where it's just like you're getting 50
hyper targets. Yeah.
Like you obviously want them to have like probably a 30% target share, 25-30%, but you don't want them at like the 40% range because then it's way too predictable. That's what Diggs was. That's what Adams is with Rodgers, and we see that does not work out. You need a guy like
Zach.
You look at Philly.
You're big on like. AJ Brown, yeah.
He's the number one, right?
AJ Brown's the number
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
But he had a
That's
few
never
bad
bad.
games, yeah. They also have
Because
Saquon.
he'll go some games with 6 targets, and it's fine.
Well, they also have Saquon, who takes 20-some rushes a game.
All right, 2 years ago when they made the Super Bowl, they didn't have Saquon. They had Miles Sanders. There's the same thing.
Okay, so you're so quick to blowing up all these teams when they come up just short. The Bills are a great team. They could easily win the Super Bowl. Just because they came up a little bit short.
Something's not working.
Something is working. They won 14 games this year. They were a great team. They just couldn't perform on one play. One play. It took one play, and they didn't get it. That doesn't mean blow up the team and get a whole new receiving core. And they missed by one play.
Make one move.
They don't need to. They have the best quarterback in the league. They have a good enough receiving core.
The same thing and hope
James Cook is emerging.
Yes. Yeah, James Cook is.
They don't need to blow anything up.
Or 1 year left.
Yep. Cook's got
My
a year.
point is, you said the same thing with the Packers. These teams are trying to develop and get better together, and you're like, nope, they missed out. Blow it up. New team. They're fine. They're fine. The Chiefs won't. Say the Chiefs lose, then the Bills might take next year. Who knows? You can't blow up a team if you come that close. You've got to stick to it. If they lost first round, yeah, go get a number one, go trade for whoever, but they were right there. You don't need to do anything, really, if you're the Bills.
I guess I think the defense. I think personnel-wise, sure, you got to do something. Does it go to the defensive coordinator? Do you make a move there? I don't know. I'm intrigued. Obviously, I think you stick with McDermott. I think starting coaching-wise, you keep Brady, hopefully. I mean, and now it seems like they're going to keep him, and he talked about being retained with that team. I feel I don't know. I feel they try to bring in receiving help, right? They brought Amari Cooper. Obviously, that did not work, right? Bringing in Cooper did nothing.
You could even say Curtis Samuel if you want to. I mean, they brought him in too.
But that was the vision, right? I think this team recognized they were thin on receiver. They bring in a guy. So
Shakir's their leading receiver. He's not number one.
He's like a third-year player. I mean, that's like saying Jaden Reed
could be a number one in the future.
Dobbs can't be a number one. Yeah, they could be number ones, just not yet.
None of them are.
They're not Amon-Ra or Tank Dell or Nico Collins where they emerged that quick.
Dell's not number one.
Well, he emerged quick. That's what I'm saying. He emerged really quick into the league. He's a second-year player, and he's a great receiver. I mean, Shakir has the potential to be a great receiver, but he's not there yet. He could easily be number one next year. A great number one for them.
All right.
Who's to say he's not?
Zach, you haven't given us any names yet. T. Higgins?
He's number one.
Okay, we said number one, but you just gave me this specific example. Can't be Adams, can't be this guy, can't be Diggs. There's different number ones. What number one do they need?
Higgins is probably the most realistic for teams because you don't have to give anything up for him.
Yep.
Let me ask you something, Zach. Let me ask you something. So the leading name for the receiving core for the Packers, their top free agent they're going after is DK Metcalf. Is DK Metcalf a number one?
He's borderline. Can be.
So if they got DK Metcalf, would that suffice your worries about the Packers? You wouldn't be happy?
I don't know that I want him to be my number one, considering he can't keep his mental head together.
My question is so you said you want a number one. They go out and get a DK. That's getting he's your best receiver if you get him. But that would work probably for the Packers. That would work just fine. He's not a true number one. So that's where I kind of see, I mean, it's different with the Bills, but Shakir could be the Metcalf. I'm just saying a number one depends on how many targets they get. That's all it really comes down to. Xavier Worthy was their top receiver this year. He's not a number one receiver at all, but he got the most targets. That doesn't make him a number one, but
as long as Kelsey's there, he's gonna be the number one because he makes time of the plays. But
2 catches for 19 yards. That's not a number one in the most important game of the season. I mean, I'm just saying.
Zach, I think Zach's talking about separation and more of just
I know his talent. I know his ability. I know.
Talent, ability, and not necessarily about just how many targets are you getting. That's where I think But obviously
like,
to have
what about-
production, you need targets. I get that whole.
Yeah, the Bills 2 years ago when Diggs had like one catch, and then Gabe Davis goes for 5-6 touchdowns, whatever it was. Like like, is Davis the number one there? No, Diggs was still the number one.
No, he
but like
wasn't.
they
Diggs
went
was
away
the
from
number-
him.
Yes.
Yeah. So you don't
And it
need a number
worked.
one. Maybe so you just want him there to shadow, like decoy? Is that what you want a number one for? To
No,
take the top
you need
defender?
No, I'm saying you need a number one that can produce, but also like if he has a game where he has one or two catches and somebody else goes off, like doesn't turn into a locker room issue. Like you can't have your quarterback feeling like they have to force him the ball.
But you
That's
want
the
Garrett
issue.
Wilson.
Like, yeah, I don't think like Adams is a perfect number one for like if you're a team that wants to compete next 2-year window, Adams is perfect for that. Because between
Adams
him
is a
and
very
Rodgers,
selfish player. Have you watched Receiver on Netflix? You
No.
need to. Adam, I'm not going to speak bad on Adams, but he's not the saint that'll bring glory to the team. He's very selfish. If he doesn't get the ball, but you're winning, he doesn't care. He'll be pissed because he didn't get the ball. Like he's not that kind of. Oh my God, he's a great locker room presence. That's not Adams. I'm sorry, it's not.
you don't see him screaming on the sidelines like you did Diggs.
Sure, yeah, that's fair.
Like,
But apparently, Garrett Wilson's not a good locker room either. Like he's not a level head in the locker room. Like it's hard to find. I don't know. Depends what you're willing to, take in. I guess sometimes locker rooms need that, where there's someone that's not afraid to say stuff and just kind of put some culture back in the team.
Well, and I also feel like, yeah, if you're not getting the ball, there's right to be, frustrated, right? I mean, look at Cooper Kupp. I mean, he even opened up about not getting the ball there at the end of the year. I mean, Cooper Kupp. So,
I think it was last season. Then again, the Raiders were pretty bad. So I'm not saying Jets Adams because I didn't see much about him on the Jets say anything. But when he was on the Raiders and I think it was I don't know who it was. One of his teammates caught a touchdown pass. It was last season, and he had like one target the whole game, one catch for like 10 yards, and his teammate caught a touchdown to like take the lead, and he was visibly upset. He took his helmet, he slammed it on the ground, and he was like pissed after they scored a touchdown because he didn't get the ball. It's like, I get you want to be involved, but you just scored a touchdown. Like it's not that big of a deal,
Wow.
So.
Well, I guess we talk. Oh, that's the solution to the Bills. And then is Liam Cohen going to be the solution to the Jaguars? There's a lot of coaching stuff that happened since we last. That are the Raiders. Is Pete Carroll the answer?
Zach, do you want to give us a Duval?
No.
Oh goodness.
No. Okay.
He did it again, by the way. He doubled down on social media, they had him do it.
Hey, he can do what he wants. No, he's just fitting into the culture. That's all. He's trying to adapt to Jacksonville.
You can't judge this guy by his first press conference. You can't. Come on.
Well, you remember Jonathan Gannon, right? I mean, he was pretty awkward at first. He was like really bad, but I mean,
okay, I'll give you Dan Campbell.
Yeah. Well, have you seen Nick Sirianni? His first press conference?
His was
no, we don't like Nick Sirianni, I know, but he was very awkward. He could barely say anything.
Awful, yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
And,
so
now he's a good coach. I mean, people.
Point is, I'm not judging these guys by their first go around, first press conference.
Yeah.
Obviously the or just how that situation was. It was so weird, right? With Cohen, he withdrew. He wasn't in. And then turned out there's multiple sides of the story there, and just with how that all shook out. But hey, they got their guy. I personally love Pete Carroll to the Raiders. I think it's a great idea.
You know what I like? You know what I like the most out of all of this? Coach P to the Ravens. It's great. Great for the brand. Chuck Pagano, Ravens.
Yeah.
Helping out with the linebackers or something? I know
senior
he's not on the
secondary
show
coach.
anymore, but secondary. Okay, yeah. Oh,
Senior.
that's awesome. Like he
It
said, he had
is.
that itch that he needed to, scratch, and he didn't know what to do. And good for him. I mean, he beat
Colts
cancer, and now
DC.
he's finally, yeah.
That would have
Gotta love
been.
it.
I'm just saying that would have been. Come on, it came back as the
Yeah,
Colts defensive coordinator,
yeah, that would have been cool.
but
Yeah,
Yeah,
Pete Carroll surprised me too. I mean, I like it a lot, but
3-year
I didn't,
deal. He's the
I
oldest
didn't think he was
coach
still in like the running for
ever.
coaches.
73,
Yeah.
I believe. So, put him there, 3-year deal. But right. I mean, you think about it, like, I bet his team could be. I mean, I bet at the end of that deal, like his team will be competitive. I mean, I think even. I mean, this year they're already going to win more games. I mean, I can't just say solely based on the coach. We haven't seen how they drafted. We haven't seen what signings they make. But you feel new ownership. You feel having him in, new GM. I mean, I'm not going to say.
Yeah.
You obviously don't think this team's going to make that Washington leap, but we haven't seen their draft class yet. But my whole point is like they're going to win more games than this past year. You could see, I'll say 7 games right now. They're in a tough division, but that's, I'll put it
I
there.
think they're winning 7 games this year.
Well, okay.
Stopping
This
them.
is a prediction, Zach, of just solely saying like this team can make moves in free agency. This team can make moves in the draft. I'm saying that's their ceiling. Is that a crazy thing? This team could win 7 games tops.
I'm talking about the Seahawks.
No, I'm talking about the Raiders. Jimmy. I'm saying the Raiders come in.
I was gonna say. I
saying-
thought we were still talking Seahawks. I was like,
I'm saying
Yeah.
they could win. I put at the low. I put at like 4 or 5 games, but I'd say
Ceiling at 7's fine, yeah.
yeah.
I thought that was your prediction. I was like, that's
No. I didn't want to sound crazy. My whole
the line
point is like,
probably like 5.5.
you bring in a better guy. You bring in a coach, and obviously, coach isn't going to change the team totally around. But you feel that with the ownership and stuff, you definitely feel like there's a new era. If they get a quarterback, hey, nothing against Aiden O'Connell, right? He's hung in at Kansas City at Arrowhead. Last 2 times he's played there, he won a game at Arrowhead, right? They won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
We
It's
saw
hard to
Zach Sky
predict
Roberts
the
ago.
next season.
San Francisco's going to be back next year.
How
Gonna be
many
good. They're
games?
in the West. 11 and
Zach's
6.
like 12 game. Yeah. Okay.
I think the Seahawks could make a little run there in the West. They could win it. Obviously, I'm still a Rams guy. I think 3 of those teams could.
I think the Colts are going to win their
I'm
first
on
division
Arizona.
title in like 14 years. It's going to happen.
All right, so we're all just delusional now.
Well, I thought I'd throw my delusional take in there. You guys did, so I can't die.
How many games the Colts winning then?
Probably 9 or 10 at most. I'd say probably 9 and 8 or 8 and 9, like always.
Jacksonville's going 10 and 7.
Then we're going 14 and 3. Like, wow. Jacksonville just solidified the top pick in the next 5 drafts with that head coach hire. Just saying.
Come on. I'm giving the guy a shot.
honestly good.
Yeah.
Outside of Joe Brady, he was my top preference for them to take.
Yeah, because why wouldn't you want to work there? You got a great quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, an all-time great system, great team.
So, Jared, since you clearly know nothing about what head coaches want, why is nobody taking the Saints job? They got a great quarterback in Derek Carr. They got Alvin Kamara. They got.
I'm just saying that you wanted. You're so high on that Jacksonville job. Oh my god! Yeah, what a good team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why is nobody taking
that team? Looks like it can win like 4 games, maybe. Wow. I don't think if people get offered a head coaching job, they're probably going to take it if they aren't someone like Bill Belichick. Like he wouldn't take a Saints head coaching job, I'm sure.
You know how many people have pulled out of the Saints running?
Well, yeah,
because they don't.
I got it. I'm right. You ready?
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot.
Joe Brady, Cliff Kingsbury,
Mike McCarthy. Yeah. I mean, you can count that as he's taking.
That's a win for them. he should just took one last payday and called it a day.
Wow.
So right now it's Saints' job. So there's a couple guys though still going. Hear me out. Mike Kafka. So that's the Giants' offensive coordinator. Thoughts?
He's gonna get
No. Okay. Kellen Moore. So after the Super Bowl, come on, he'd take his first. Right, this would be his first head coaching job. I'm just
No,
looking
he
through.
won't take that.
Okay. And then Anthony Weaver, Dolphins defensive coordinator.
Mhm.
So I'm reading you guys for their first head coaching job. Cliff
I'm
Kingsbury
saying
pulled
these
out.
guys shouldn't take it. I'm not saying the Saints should hire him.
Did Jacksonville hire a new GM yet or no?
I don't think so.
Because the only openings were at the time I took this were the Saints head coach, Jaguars GM, and then Lions OC. But they just got who did they get? Did the Lions hire an OC? I thought I saw something about them hiring.
Yeah, they
an OC.
did. Yep, the
So
Lions
that's
have
just
hired
those
an
two
offense.
are the last one.
They hired John Morton, so it's the Broncos pass game coordinator.
Okay. Yeah. So it's just those two then are left.
The Texans offensive coordinator, you say it? I wasn't listening.
There were no OCs, it said. Let me look.
Bobby Slowick.
He's gone, so there is a spot there. So that's another one.
Oh, they must. Yeah, that's right. So that was before, and the Raiders OC that is on here too.
The Broncos staff, I will say. So Sean Payton has had a history, right, of getting, the Sean Payton tree, if you will. It's a real thing. I think there's a great coaching staff in the early or late 2010s. A lot of those guys are coaching or coordinators we've heard of. But here's Broncos staff. So they hire Declan Doyle, the Broncos tight end coach, goes from there to offensive coordinator in Chicago. And then we saw pass game coordinator get hired then. And just overall, I mean, we're seeing those guys constantly get interviews based on the pedigree of just being on a Sean Payton staff. But obviously the results this year helped out as well. But I don't know. I feel the Saints job, I feel like it's going to come down to one of those guys I mentioned. I mentioned those three guys: Kellen Moore, Mike Kafka, Anthony Weaver. I think someone's going to get that job. Could be a reason. My other point here too is, if Kellen Moore, right? Well, let's say after the Super Bowl, let's see, is there a reason why they're waiting this long? Do you think it was Target McCarthy? Do we think that, Kellen Moore might be a reason why this team's waiting to make a decision?
Well, according to Zach, it's nothing to do with McCarthy because apparently he's just the scum of the earth. He's terrible. Nothing he does is ever good enough. But
he'll get hired next cycle.
Coach.
He's going to get hired next cycle, Zach. Next year. Some teams taking him.
Yeah.
Or he could do the Cliff Kingsbury offensive coordinator. I think he'll coach. But
Anthony Weaver should not take the Saints. He's a pretty young upcoming coach. Why, if that's where you are, why would you not take the Ben Johnson route and wait until you get a great opportunity? Why would you go to the Saints where they're going to be bad for the next 2-3 years? They don't have any cap space to work with. They have their normal draft capital. They're not.
What else would he do all year? What would he do for this year?
Your coordinator in another year.
Stay there.
Stay. Okay.
No, I don't hate that.
As long as you keep running good defense, you're going to have shots next year.
Well, that's the thing though. It's all win or loss. You got to have a good year. If you have a good year, you just hope that you find a better job. You go 12-6 and it's or 12-5, and you hope that there's openings that someone looks at you, like the Lions, like Ben Johnson. He could have been the OC on that team 2 years ago, and he wouldn't have gotten an offer. But now he was one of the highest looked at, coaches for a possible head coaching job because they were so good this year.
But coordinators go more off of. I feel like coordinators get evaluated more off of what they do with what they have versus head coaches. Head coaches are strictly wins and losses, whereas coordinators are more if you have the 30th defense in terms of talent, and you coach a top 15 defense, even if you're not top 5, like you're still going to be regarded as a good coordinator.
So, can you explain to me, please, why the Colts hired Lou Almond, whatever his name is?
Lou Anarumo?
Yeah, that dude. Why do we hire him? I just want to know, please.
I mean, his defenses haven't been awful in Cincinnati. He had a really bad start to this year, but like even second half of this year, like they were fine as a defense.
Yeah.
And like the past few years, they were like average with not a lot of resources invested in it. The one big thing though is that I've seen come up more often now is Cincinnati hasn't played a lot of their first round draft picks. Like on defense especially. And I know they've missed on some offensive linemen lately, but like Dax Hill is one of the big guys that's been pointed out where he just didn't play at all his rookie year. And that's not typically a winning formula. This isn't college where you can recruit guys and play them their sophomore year.
Yeah.
My other thing too include is right. I mean, Packers hired Jeff Hafley. His defense was in Boston College was not great. They're coming off a rough year in terms of points per game. I remember we were looking at on this very show where when he got hired, we were reading 49, 40, 38. How many rushing yards can you allow? Right. I mean, it comes down to A, how these guys interview, but B, right. I mean, what's the schematic fit? Do they fit? Does it fit the personnel, what we have? Does it fit what they want to do? So obviously with Hafley, we've seen, a shift in the defense in terms of we're seeing these linebackers more active. We're seeing in terms of the defensive line, we're seeing more three-man fronts, things like that. So maybe there must have been a vision there too. That's why I'm definitely intrigued to see kind of I definitely would want to know just how that interview went in terms of and how it was decided. They went with him, but I feel like that must have played a part too. Because Jared, you're totally right. I mean, you look at the results. Based on results, look, this guy got let go for a reason, and this guy.
There's obviously exceptions, like Matt Canada, like Joe Barry. Like there's exceptions with, your team was great, but that was the worst part of your team, so that's why you got fired. I mean, great teams look to get even better, so that makes sense why the Packers fired Joe Barry, like stuff like that.
Oh, sorry, did that not fit there?
What'd you say?
No, you're good. You think the Bills should fire their DC?
You said good teams look to get even better, and I said that's what the Bills should do.
Yeah. Okay.
Not just stay where they are.
Okay. I mean, the Bills are fine the way they are. I think they won 14 games this year. They came up a half a yard short, basically.
Oh,
they
so
get that first down. They score a touchdown. They win.
That's good, but should try and get better. They should just stick where
every team tries to get better, but they don't they will get better naturally. Like they don't need to go out and do stuff to get better.
The Chiefs have clogged the AFC now for obvious and right. My point in bringing that up is we look at the Bills, but I think we gotta look at the Ravens too, right? I mean, Lamar hasn't been to a Super Bowl yet either, and look at the MVPs. Mm-hmm. So I don't think this is just a Bills problem, right? I mean, obviously the Bills made it farther this year. The Bills beat the Ravens, but this is a Ravens problem too. Not ready to go there yet with Detroit, obviously, but right? I mean, these are teams that have had superstar quarterbacks and have had good teams year in, year out, seed wise, and haven't made it to the big game yet. Those are the two teams right away in the AFC, right? They just stand out like sore thumbs. Like, why have they not made a Super Bowl yet? And they haven't changed anything though. Ravens bringing Derrick Henry. They've made some changes, but it's personnel wise, I mean, these teams have stayed relatively put. Obviously, some coaching changes, guys get fired over the years, but a head coach, right? I mean, it stayed the same, and we've seen that continuity across. So I'm not suggesting they fire Harbaugh, nor McDermott. I'm just pointing out, right? I mean, these teams just have straight up came up short.
So say the same thing happens to the Bills next year. Is McDermott gone?
You can't.
It depends how it happens, right?
Can't be. You can't.
Right.
I mean, think
No.
about it this way.
I think it could be.
Would they rather keep Brady or McDermott in the building? Because
Why not both?
Brady's
Keep them
probably
both.
gone next year.
Keep them both.
I mean, he almost had a head coaching job this year. With
Mhm.
Josh Allen, it's probably pretty hard to fail. So he's going to probably get a head coaching job next year. So
The clock is ticking. You're right, though.
Perfect example, Zach. So why is that credit to Barry? Why or to Brady, Joe Brady? Why is that credit to him if Josh Allen is so good and it's so hard for him to be bad at this job?
Ken Dorsey got a lot better with Brady. He was good before, but
I think it's because of Ken Dorsey.
This year went way down.
Or he just has that natural talent, and doesn't matter who's coaching him, he'll just be good.
Oh, it mattered when Ken Dorsey was the offensive coordinator. That offense, statistically, we saw was worse. I mean, they started running the football more. It was a big change.
All I'm going to say is the Colts made the playoffs in 2020 under Frank Reich with Phillip Rivers. That's all I'm saying. Phillip Rivers had a great year. No credit to Frank Reich, but
look at Bobby Slowick, right? Like he had a good year, and then I mean, it was probably the same kind of spot that Joe Brady was in. The only difference is, I feel like Josh Allen is further into his career where he can carry an offense more than Stroud.
How old is Josh Allen? Obviously. Like 28?
29, I think.
Yeah. And Mahomes is like 31,
29.
30.
They're like the same age.
Yikes. I mean, 3 straight years, right? Didn't the Bills lose to the Chiefs 3 straight years in the AFC
They've
Championship?
They're 0-4 in the playoffs against them now.
Yeah.
Well, last year was the divisional.
Divisional? Yeah. You're right. Like, you're getting there almost every time. I don't know. I feel like if I'm a Bills fan and I see them go out and make all these trades and fire these people and I'm not happy. Like, we were just there.
Like, I'm already not happy. I'm not even a Bills fan.
Yeah, exactly.
As a fan, like you would rather him go 14-3, losing the championship round every single year than win a Super Bowl and then suck for 5 years. But if you're the front office, if you're the coach, what's going to keep your job longer? The Super Bowl.
Like, for example,
depending on ownership, but for the most
the Brewers, I hate how the Brewers always choke in the playoffs, but we're a small market. We don't deserve to be there every year, but we're always there. That's why head coaches keep their job. That's why our ownership stays in place because we might not come up in the playoffs, but just being there is impressive. Same as the Bucks.
I would rather.
Yeah.
Sorry,
after the Bucks won,
the same in the NFL.
Well, I know it's not, but after the Bucks won the NBA Finals, right? The Bucks won the NBA Finals, and then the next year they weren't as good, right? They came up short, and then everyone was calling to fire their head coach. It's like, well, he just did it. They had one bad year. I know the Bills have had 3 in a row. I get it, but I think fans nowadays are so quick to blame someone instead of just being like, we came up short. That's all it was.
I do think I'm going to challenge that a little bit, Zach. I think I'd rather, for a franchise that's had so much, suffering in playoffs, I think you take a Super Bowl win and then have a couple of years of losing. Obviously, that's not likely to happen with Josh Allen at quarterback, but
yeah, that's what I said.
At this point in the franchise. Oh, I thought you said you'd rather take losing. You made a comment about how the fans.
As a fan, you'd rather not your team say we're going to win a Super Bowl and then win 5 games for the next 5 years. But if they win that Super Bowl. That's where I thought Jared was going with the Brewers, for example, right? If they won 1 Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy.
Series, I'm just saying, they win a championship.
But still, you look at
I would sacrifice 20 years of mediocrity for the Brewers to win one World Series. Yeah, definitely.
I don't know what 20 years.
I mean, it's one. Then we get
there's a number on it.
Cubs. Yeah,
it's a big number.
Yeah, But I know what you're saying, Zach. A quarterback like Josh Allen, you don't want just 1 Super Bowl and then you're terrible for 5 years. That's not what you want as a fan, especially if you know the potential is to win a couple or 2 or 3. I get it, but once again, if I'm a fan of the Bills and I see them making all these hires and trades and firing people, it's I don't like that. You're good enough to win it. I don't feel like you need to really do much to
They're not good.
help your case. Maybe
That's why
they get a
lost
number
all
one.
years.
Okay, so maybe they trade for Garrett Wilson, right? Or they just pick up Garrett Wilson, right? Would that be
Pick them off.
good?
Pick 'em
That would
up
be the
off
best.
curb with a bus or something, or what?
Yeah, give them a bag of chips. Give a bag of chips to the Jets and take Garrett Wilson. Like, would that be good? Would you think that would suffice all their needs? Do you think that's perfect?
Well, I think they still have to work on their defense, but it'd make their offense a lot better. Yeah.
Okay, so you also you have conflicts here because you want the Bills to go sign Garrett Wilson. You want the Bills to go sign, T. Higgins, but you want the Packers to sign him too. Like, obviously you want the Packers to do it more, but as an NBA fan or an NFL fan, you want to see the best teams get better. But as a Packer fan, you don't want that to happen because you want to still compete. You want to be able to win it, and sometimes teams get too good, and you can't beat those good teams. So no, I don't want the Bills to get a number one because that would just make them a lot better. And that's hardening the AFC the way it is. Like, I don't want them to get even better.
I mean, that's kind of how the Lions were this year, but guess what? They still lost.
Well, that's like their. I don't know. I don't know about the Lions. That was just an
Like
anomaly.
what?
They had a bad game.
Yeah, any team can have a bad game, but
that's why you need to make NFL a 3-game playoffs, right? 3 games
All
series.
Come on.
yeah, play until June.
Yeah.
Tell players you get 1 month off and you're back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys would have 3-year careers and be done.
Just looking at free agents too, just because we're talking about these teams got to be better and get better. Well, how are they gonna get better? They got to either sign or trade some guys, or of course the draft too. But like,
right,
looking at this, right away we know this is the receiver heavy. Right, we talked about already some of the guys. I think Diggs is still interesting. Chris Godwin's obviously the most intriguing. Okay, T. Higgins is, but right after, right? Obviously, if Godwin wouldn't have gotten hurt, I mean, there's a case he would have been the top.
How many years do you know off the top of your head? How many years does Ayuk have left on his deal?
He just signed a big extension.
He just signed that
4 or 5, I think, with this 5th-year option.
And Debo's on his last year.
Probably, yeah. I won't be surprised if he's gone.
Cut candidate.
Even though they've
I'm looking out for Ricky Pearsall's stock right now because I have him, and I don't know if I should be shopping him or holding
Trade
on.
him.
I know
No,
you
I
hate
hold.
him. You said that.
Trade him.
Same as like Keon Coleman. Like
I
those
have
two
him
are.
pulled.
Yeah.
Oh, separation stats suck.
Is that all you look for? Like, I don't know. I feel like if
I mean, he also had a lot of
for
games
example-
where he was like their number 2 and he didn't do anything.
no discredit to
Zach also
DeAndre
thinks-
Hopkins. No discredit to him. But in his prime, he didn't have the best separation, but he had the best hands in the league where he just didn't drop passes. So he could be in tight coverage and he'd still catch the. You don't always need separation. Obviously, it helps, but if you don't have
It's
separation,
the most
doesn't mean you're
consistent way to
bad.
targets, though.
Yeah. I mean, even like Garrett Wilson, do you see some catches he makes, or George Pickens? They don't have the best separation, but they make tough catches. Obviously you want separation, sure, but doesn't like make or break a player, I guess.
Garrett Wilson has phenomenal separation. That's
Well,
his game.
I'm talking about a few catches where the one.
Yeah, the highlight catches, which obviously
Yeah,
you're not going
I'm
to make
saying.
when you're wide open.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying that. Like, you can make plays like that and still be a top receiver without, even if he didn't have separation.
Yeah, but you're not going to make 4 of those a game.
You can. Why not? They get paid millions, don't they? Okay. Right.
Imagine Chris Godwin going to New England and then they draft Ted McMillan. I think that would be an interesting receiving core for Drake May in year 2.
Yeah.
That help. I'm just afraid, right? When we had Calvin Ridley signed to Tennessee, and okay, obviously that's different. And I'm not saying Drake May is leaps and bounds over Will Levis, but we've seen teams bring in veteran receivers too, and obviously Godwin over Ridley is an obvious choice. But yeah, I think that'd be good. But you say bring in Tet too.
Yeah, I mean, Ted's like, I don't like the pairing of Higgins and Ted just because I feel like they're similar receivers. Like, they're both
I'd say so.
outside, bigger body guys.
Yep. I could see it being a fit for Tet.
I think every team has their needs. I mean, obviously, but
yeah.
not every team
But,
can
like,
go
for
out and
receiver.
make the same thing. You know,
Jared, Colts aren't going to get one of these guys, right? They're the only team with 3 receivers of 800 yards or more, right?
yeah. See, you know your stats. Yeah, tell Zach that he needs to know that stuff.
So, but point is, right? They're not going to get. I'm going to bring up the Colts for you. They're not going to get one of these guys.
Colts are going to get what's his name out of the draft? Tyler Warren. Is that his
Tyler
name?
Warren from
Tight
Penn
end?
State. Yep.
Yeah, that's who they're going to get.
That's
what I'm thinking.
Not Colston Loveland?
Yeah.
Loveland will be gone by then, right? On
No,
Michigan?
Warren's 10-1.
Is he 10-1?
Yeah.
They're close.
But
yeah,
consensus, he's 10-1.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I think these receiver spots are interesting. Obviously, right, T. Higgins to Buffalo would be great, or Godwin to Buffalo would be phenomenal, right? Those are 2 spots. Or I just think, right, you look at Buffalo as a ideal spot. You look at New England as an ideal spot. With Keenan Allen going to be gone from Chicago most likely.
Didn't you just get there?
He was on last year of his deal.
Was it just a 1-year deal? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I mean, you could say they have a need for receiver right now too. They could bring in a guy.
I feel like they're more of a candidate for like a 3rd-round guy, like some guy in the draft a little bit later.
They're going to draft another guy, but like that's a team that could bring in Brandon Cooks. That's a team that could bring in Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Bobby Trees by chance? Anyone? No.
But
Is he still irrelevant? No.
If they bring in anybody that's fantasy relevant, I'd be surprised, especially with DJ Moore and Odunze.
Yeah. I'm not saying like it's a heavy need.
They need a better tight end. Komet sucks. Komet's terrible. Sorry.
He got extended a couple.
Isn't he starting to end in fantasy?
Yeah, he is, and yet he's putting up like 4 points a game. Like he's terrible.
But
that was a little rant. Sorry.
Also, Hopkins being a free agent too. Again, these guys aren't. It's top heavy. There's no denying that in this free agent class. But the veterans are guys who are respectable. Where they're guys you want to have on your team still, not as number 1s or number 2s, but. Still look what Hopkins has still had some games, and it's still the value he's brought to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Do you think Washington is signing one?
Yeah. Washington's the other team where you feel, hey, Olamide Zaccheaus and De'Ami Brown. I mean,
can we talk about the Chiefs receiving core though? Like going into this year, their number 1 was Rashee Rice. Then they have Worthy, and now you look back and they have Juju, Hollywood Brown, and DeAndre Hopkins. Like now they have arguably like if these players were in their prime, like the best receiver.
Yeah, if it was 2019.
Yeah, I'm just saying like these players just go there just to get a quick ring. It's stupid. It's like, oh, so Hollywood.
Because Kelsey's their number 1.
Well, yeah, he is.
Oh yeah,
I mean, objectively he is. But I'm not saying he is a number 1. He's their number 1. He's not a true number 1 because he isn't as.
Okay.
He's not. He hasn't been consistent this year. How do you go in your first playoff game for 120 yards, and then your second game you go for 19? That's
Jay, let me ask you a question.
A lot of coverage.
Yeah.
Who's the number 1 in Arizona?
I mean, it's hard. You got to say Harrison, right?
Who's the number 1 in Las Vegas?
Why would you say Harrison?
Look at the target difference between McBride
Well, he's a rookie.
and
I'm saying next year.
Harrison.
You really
Okay,
think
what
that
about Vegas?
McBride is?
McBride.
You don't draft a guy 4th overall or whatever to be your number 2 target on the team. Like he's going to be their number 1.
Kyle Pitts 4th overall to be their 4th target.
This is just terrible. I'm sorry.
Okay, but Jared, the Raiders, who's their number 1?
I know what you're saying. I know what you guys are saying. Brock Bowers is the number 1, definitely, but they don't have another receiver like at all because Bowers is just.
Myers?
I know it's a cheap option.
Myers is a nobody. Come on, he
yeah,
got picked up on the streets. The Patriots
Yeah,
dumped him off at a
2.
bus stop, and the Raiders bus just happened to see him on the side of the road.
Did they have like 1,200 yards?
Yeah, he had a great year.
Yeah,
Okay. He'd be a phenomenal number 2.
He was the 3rd option on the Patriots behind who do they?
Yeah, that's because the Patriots can't
27 yards.
find a receiver to save their lives in the last
Yeah.
8 years.
Yeah.
He had a nice year.
Yeah, he had a good year. I'm just saying Brock Bowers is the number one. I know where you're going with this. I know you're saying that a tight end can be the number one. I get it. But I'm just saying it's like
Just if you were
you
building a
don't
team, you
want
don't want that.
yeah, your tight end should be someone that you can rely on here and there, but he shouldn't be your number one target. Like, oh, it's a quarterback's best friend. That's what a tight end is. You look at your options. Oh, they're not there. You check the tight end. He's not there. You go to the flats. That's your options. You shouldn't like, oh, where's Kelsey? Like, I don't know. I feel like you need that number one. That's not a
What
tight
about
end.
the Jacoby Myers trade? He could be an interesting trade candidate. If a team misses out on the top,
I'll give you a
receiver
third.
draft,
Oh, you mean
you're not
like an
gonna get
actual
first for
trade?
him.
I thought you were talking fantasy.
I don't even know what
Oh.
the price would be. I mean, I'm just trying to think even.
It'd probably be like a fifth or something.
I was going to say
Sixth.
fifth because I was like, ugh.
Didn't Amari Cooper
He's
go for
got
a
1
fifth?
year left on his deal. What?
Cooper went for like a seventh, didn't he? When he went from the Browns. Where did he come from?
Yeah,
The Raiders.
he wasn't
or whatever it
producing as
was?
much. Was more expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I think Myers a fifth.
Fifth or sixth, something like that.
Yeah, but
I feel like he would be an interesting choice.
That's a move you could see. If they draft someone, they clean house in that receiving core besides Bowers. I just like my take is I just think that team's gonna look the most different on paper year in year out. I mean that's kind of my whole commentary was before though about like this team's gonna look different.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to quarterback play though.
Obviously, but like you could easily see Crosby not on that team anymore. Right? I mean, you could see him as
we'll take him.
Trade candidate.
Colts will take him. We need that.
We want to win, but
it's like the Colts.
Yeah. I know that contradicts my whole thing, but like, point is, you can get a lot for him. We saw.
I saw people on, I think it was Instagram or something, like they were arguing whether it would take 3 firsts or you could get done with 2 firsts for Max Crosby, which is absolutely insane.
Jesus
insane.
Christ!
No.
It
depends how much the Raiders pay. I mean, you're paying.
You might be able to get one.
You can get at least first.
Like
you're paying.
I don't think a fifth or a pick swap or something.
28 and 25 million over the next 2 years.
No, Zach. The Raiders would eat some of this money. I think that's the whole part of that. They eat part of it, not all of it, but
aren't they paying like 8 head coaches? They can't really afford to eat that much money.
If they only had to pay 1 head coach, their overall team expenses for the year would be cut in half.
Yeah. I'm not excited to watch Raiders football next year. I'm not gonna lie. I'm almost as excited to watch Titans football. To be honest, like that's how excited I am. But they might have like Shador or something. They might.
This is why you say that I want good players to go to the good teams. It's because I don't want to see T. Higgins in Tennessee lining up with Will Levis.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see
Levis
that.
is not quarterback next year. I don't care what the report. He's not going to be the quarterback.
The only reason you wouldn't want to see that is if it's like a primetime Thursday night game and you're like, I want to watch a good football game, and then you see Will Levis under center. And you're like, oh, okay.
Well, no, but it just makes somebody completely useless for fantasy. Not completely useless, but
the Seahawks Bears sums up Thursday night football.
Yeah, no. What was that game? Bears was it Bears Seahawks? Was that what it was?
6-3. There was that. Yeah. There are some iconic ones. The snow game.
There were Broncos Colts a couple years ago when it was like 8 field goals the whole game.
Yeah.
When what's his name threw his helmet down in the end zone.
We made fun of that game. I remember that specifically.
Yeah,
but
that was a fun game to watch. That was when Russell Wilson was like really, really bad.
Was that
better?
Who was starting for the Colts that game? Was it Matt Ryan?
No, that was Wentz, right? No, it was Matt Ryan. I thought we started 2-2-1, and then we ended 4-13-1 or something. Yeah, or 14.
It was Matt Ryan because I remember you were raging in the group chat.
Yeah, it was Matt Ryan. Yep.
It was
yep.
Wasting JT or
that was 2 years ago, 2022. That was Matt Ryan. Yeah.
Well, JT got hurt that year too, right?
Yeah, he was out for like 6 games, and then he came back and held out the next year. It's like, Okay, you're hurt. You don't play a lot. You have a terrible year, and then you hold out. That's a different conversation. But
And he got paid.
he did because he had to. He came to his senses and asked for less than 15 million, whatever he was asking for.
Who's holding
His
on next?
agent-
Jamar Chase?
Well, his
Jamar Chase again?
agent, his agent was like, "You want 16, 17, whatever you want," and then he's like, "Nope, I want 14." And then he got 14 or whatever. So, I don't know.
Jamar Chase is getting 35.
I can't believe they didn't extend him. I mean, I get it, but come on. That was costly, is what it's gonna be.
When you think back of like
Not
the
really.
worst
Like-
the worst franchise moves, what do you think of? Because like I immediately think
Can I
of
just say
yeah, go for it.
I hate that narrative of people saying like it's costing him so much more money. Like it might cost him $1 or $2 million more a year. He was getting top dollar either way.
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying. Bottom line, it's more money.
Yeah,
He's gonna
it'll be
earn a
like
higher
$2 million a
contract.
year though.
Yeah.
So like
Cap
some
space.
people are saying like this is gonna like destroy their future. It doesn't.
No, I'm not going.
It
that way.
realistically doesn't make that big difference.
Before the season, he was going to be. He was still. I mean, just based on where the years, like it would have been around Jefferson's, right?
It might have
whole
been like $1
point
million less. Now he might get.
It's going to be more. It's more than Jefferson's. It's going to be more.
Yeah.
I do. I think that. So.
Okay, what were you saying?
I guess before I'll rephrase it. I'm questioning, like now looking at as good of a year that Saquon had. How can a team like the Giants go ahead and throw all that money at Daniel Jones and like beg him to stay as their quarterback and then like just let Saquon go? I know the running back market's terrible, but just looking back at it, it looks terrible. You know, you pay all this money to your quarterback and then you let the best running back go.
Had the year he had if he didn't have a phenomenal team around him.
He wouldn't have been as bad as
with a good quarterback.
He wouldn't have been that bad. Like, I mean, he was still at over 1,500 probably.
If he was on the Giants this year rushing, I don't think he would have hit. He probably would have been like 1,400 range, 1,400.
That's fair. I saw because I only say this because I saw the call of the Giants being like, "Hey, so you should test free agency or whatever." That phone call just made me think like, how could an organization be that, delusional?
His kid knew to take Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's
neighbors. He said
another thing though. Like, they weren't getting Jaden Daniels. Giants weren't.
Yeah.
Chicago was trading.
Yeah. And not that they missed on neighbors. That's not what I'm saying. Because obviously, right now, obviously, it looks like they didn't. Just I think the big thing for the Giants, though, you bring them up specifically, Jared. Right? If they knew how bad Daniel Jones was really gonna be, this team, they would have planned for it, right? I mean,
you know what I think they did?
That bad.
You know what I think it was is that they saw Mike Glennon the year before and Drew Lock? No, it was Mike Glennon and who was there?
Lock was there. No, Lock was there.
Whoever it was, they had Mike Glennon as their starter and he was awful. And then they went to someone else and he was really bad. They finally got Jones to have a good year, and they're like, you know what? We like what we see. Let's give him all this money. And I think everyone at the time knew it would be bad.
Like, they won a playoff game with Daniel Jones.
I mean, it's so weird though.
They won a game. They won like what, 10 games that year?
Yeah, they had a good. They beat the Packers, right, in London.
No, it was the Vikings in the playoffs. They did
in London.
That's correct. Yep. So
if you look at Tyron Tracy's numbers this year, with Daniel Jones versus without, they're night and day different. He made that team a lot better than they were without him.
Daniel Jones did?
Yeah. They still weren't a good team.
Yeah.
But they were significantly better with him than whatever their other option was. And that's where that's when coaches don't have a quarterback. That's where they end up. Like, you just cling on to whatever you can get because they move on from Daniel Jones. At least he can get him to around 500, get rid of him, and then you're getting fired in a year because you suck.
I'm surprised they kept Shane and Dable both.
Dable, yeah. I mean, But like the year you're talking about, he was a candidate for coach of the year. You know, he had.
Oh
great
yeah,
season.
yeah, no. And I was one who was a fan of Dable, so I'm not
Yeah.
not against them keeping it. I'm just surprised with how the expectations and what they finished with.
Yeah. Well, the Titans were pretty quick to fire Vrabel after they had a bad year. I mean, I don't know what. I don't understand the Giants organization, to be honest. Like, it's been since Eli Manning that they've been relevant, I guess. I mean, they were a playoff team a couple years ago, sure, but nobody knew. Like, you knew they weren't going to win it. They're not contenders. They snuck in.
The Titans firing Vrabel, to me, it said they don't want to end up like the Steelers.
You compare a lot of teams to the Steelers, like mediocrity. Like that's the Steelers.
That's what they
It's
are.
Well,
like,
you don't want to be
That's
there.
what they
That's
are.
the messy middle.
you either want to be amazing or like the Steelers. That's Zach's standards. It's like,
No, you either want to be amazing or you want to be like the Titans.
well, yeah.
You either want
or
to win the
you
Super
don't
Bowl or
wanna
you
be
want to
the
have the
Steelers.
number one pick.
Yeah, you don't.
Steelers
You want to be
is
as
the
far away
last
from the
place.
Steelers as possible. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because you're never going to win the Super Bowl, and
Yeah.
you're never going to have a good enough pick to get a quarterback that can win you a Super Bowl. So as long as
Yeah.
you're stuck in the middle,
You're right in
in the middle
theory, but
forever.
obviously that doesn't sell tickets. The one, get fans.
You know
in
what's
the
wrong with the
stands.
Steelers is like
You're right though.
Justin Fields was 5-2, right? The total record for Russell Wilson, I think he went like 5-8 or something, 5-7, because they ended 10-7. They ended 10-7. So that means he went 5-5, right?
Yeah, you
Does that
look
make
at who
sense?
Fields played versus who Wilson played, though.
Well, I'm not
Yeah,
saying
you're
that.
right.
Played a lot of
you
the
know,
top teams once.
That record
But
wise,
how can you look at Fields and go away from looking back now? It's like you kind of want to keep him as your guy next year, right? Don't you want to kind of sign him to an extension and ride with him
Russ
next
to
year?
Vegas,
Yeah.
Fields.
I mean,
Um,
if you're the Steelers, either one of those guys is keeping you right where you are right now.
Sam Darnold.
I don't think so,
Perfect.
Zach. I think Fields, you take that jump. I think he's good enough to, win you 11 games. I think he is. I really do. I know you're
All right, 11 games, and then you lose
There.
first round of the playoffs again.
Okay,
Playoffs,
I'm
anything
gonna-
can happen. All right, anything can happen in the playoffs.
I do
It's
think
kinda
Sam
like
Darnold for the
Fields
Steelers.
is not winning
Well,
yet.
guess what? I think Sam Darnold has a realistic shot of being, on the Steelers. Just, think about the fit there.
That'd be a disaster. They don't have Kevin O'Connell calling
Yeah.
offense.
I'm not saying it's the perfect fit. I'm just saying, like, look at a team that needs a quarterback. I don't think the Raiders would make that mistake of getting him. But
What are the
Some
Steelers
teams
doing at
don't
running
win.
back?
what?
They're
What are the
gonna
Steelers doing at running
move
back?
everyone
Warren.
but Cordell Patterson. They're gonna keep Cordell Patterson. That's what they're
Warren
gonna
and
Now
bring in
she's
a
a
day
free
two.
agent.
do. Yeah.
Me too. Like a Hampton, maybe?
Could see
No,
that.
they have a young guy. They have a young guy too, under Warren.
They signed Eric Hall, I think. Evan Hall. My bad.
Evan Hall, Colts legend. Yeah.
They signed him to a futures contract or something.
They have a lot of young players that they started this year.
But to your guys' point, that's going to be a team very intriguing this offseason.
Not to
Cause,
Zach,
like-
because you don't want to be like the Steelers at all. If you're connected to them in any way, you're terrible. Not your defense. Your defense is amazing,
All
but
right.
you don't want to be like them.
You guys got anything else?
Nope.
Final
All
score
right, well-
prediction. I'll say.
We're going to record before the Super Bowl again, so it's not like.
Oh yeah, you're right. Pro Bowl.
All right.
Here we
All
go.
right. That'll wrap it. Zack Rausch, Jared Valleskey, myself, Drew Skyberg, here on this Wednesday night. Thank you all for listening to another episode of Drew's Sports Crew, the Journey Million, the perfect podcast for you.